Somewhere in your kitchen right now, there may be a tiny seed that most people overlook without a second thought. Yet inside that small seed lives a powerful collection of nutrients that quietly support one of the most important systems in your body, your blood vessels. Imagine your circulation like a vast network of highways delivering oxygen and nutrients to every organ, every muscle, and every cell. When those highways stay flexible and open, traffic flows smoothly. But when they become stiff or narrowed, everything begins to slow down. Energy drops. Focus feels foggy. The body simply doesn't perform at its best. In a moment, you'll understand why this tiny seed has captured the attention of nutrition researchers and why many people are beginning to include it in their daily routine. But stay with me, because later you'll also see a mistake people commonly make when eating this seed that prevents them from getting its real benefits. The seed being discussed is flax seed, a food that has been studied widely for its nutritional impact on cardiovascular wellness. According to research referenced in databases such as PubMed and information shared by institutions like Harvard Health and the National Institutes of Health, flaxseed contains alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid that plays a supportive role in maintaining healthy blood vessel function as part of a balanced diet. Think of omega-3 fats as tiny helpers that encourage flexibility in the lining of your vessels, the thin layer called the endothelium that signals when vessels should gently relax or tighten. What is the tiny seed and its history? When this lining works smoothly, circulation tends to function more efficiently. Flaxseed is also known for its remarkable concentration of lignans, plant compounds that act like antioxidants inside the body. In simple terms, antioxidants help defend delicate tissues from everyday stress caused by metabolism and environmental factors. Later, you'll see why this protective effect matters so much for circulation, especially as we age. Another interesting piece of the puzzle is fiber. Flaxseed contains both soluble and insoluble fiber, which helps support digestion and healthy metabolic balance, factors that indirectly influence cardiovascular wellness. Organizations such as the Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic often emphasize that foods rich in fiber, healthy fats, and plant nutrients work together to support long-term heart health when combined with movement, sleep, and stress management. But here is where many people unknowingly make a mistake. They eat flax seeds whole, assuming the body will automatically access those nutrients. In reality, the outer shell is extremely tough, meaning the seeds may pass through digestion largely intact. In a moment, I'll explain a simple habit that helps unlock those nutrients so the body can actually use them. Before we go further, it's important to understand that information like this is meant to build awareness about healthy lifestyle habits and is not a substitute for personal medical guidance. Still, the science around nutrient-dense foods like flaxseed continues to grow, and understanding how they interact with the body gives us valuable insight into everyday wellness choices. And what makes this even more interesting is that flaxseed is only one piece of the larger story, because several other humble seeds also contribute nutrients that support circulation in different ways. In the next section, we'll explore what actually happens inside the body when blood vessels begin to lose their flexibility and why simple daily habits can influence that process far more than most people realize. To understand why certain foods attract attention in circulation research, it helps to picture how your blood vessels actually behave throughout the day. They are not rigid pipes. They are living, flexible tissues that constantly respond to signals from the body. When everything is functioning smoothly, the inner lining of the vessels, called the endothelium, sends signals that allow the vessel walls to gently relax and widen when more blood is needed. This process helps deliver oxygen and nutrients to organs, muscles, and the brain. But here is where the story becomes interesting. In a moment, you'll see why every day how it supports healthy blood vessels. Lifestyle habits can influence this delicate system far more than most people realize. And later you'll understand why researchers often look at foods like flaxseed when studying long-term cardiovascular wellness. The endothelium works somewhat like a traffic controller. It releases signaling molecules that tell the surrounding muscles of the blood vessel wall when to tighten and when to loosen. One of the most discussed molecules involved in this process is nitric oxide. Nitric oxide acts like a message telling vessels to relax so blood can move smoothly. When nitric oxide availability is balanced, circulation tends to respond more efficiently during movement, stress, and daily activity. According to educational resources published by organizations such as the National Institutes of Health and the Cleveland Clinic, endothelial function is considered an important marker of vascular health. However, the body's ability to maintain this balance can be influenced by many factors. In a moment, I'll explain a common habit that quietly interferes with this system, and later, you'll see why simple nutrition patterns can help support it. Researchers writing in journals indexed in PubMed often explore how diet patterns rich in plant nutrients, fiber, and healthy fats may help support endothelial function over time. Foods such as flaxseed contain alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-derived omega-3 fatty acid that has been examined for its relationship with cardiovascular health markers when consumed as part of balanced diets. Institutions like Harvard Health Publishing frequently explain that omega-3 fats contribute to the structure of cell membranes and may support normal signaling processes in the vascular system. But omega-3 fats are only one piece of the picture. Flaxseed also contains lignans, a group of polyphenols that act as antioxidants. Antioxidants help neutralize unstable molecules, sometimes called free radicals, that naturally form during metabolism and environmental exposure. When these unstable molecules accumulate, they may place stress on delicate tissues, including the endothelial lining of blood vessels. Organizations such as the Mayo Clinic and the World Health Organization emphasize that diets rich in plant foods supply antioxidants that help maintain cellular balance. Later, you'll see why protecting the endothelium matters for long-term circulation and energy levels. Another important factor is fiber. Soluble fiber, found in foods like flaxseed, interacts with digestion, blood sugar balance, and key compounds and nutrients explained cholesterol metabolism. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention highlight fiber intake as part of dietary patterns associated with cardiovascular wellness. When metabolic systems remain balanced, the vascular system often benefits as well. But here is a mistake many people make without realizing it. They search for a single superfood and ignore the larger lifestyle picture. In reality, circulation is influenced by sleep quality, physical movement, stress levels, and daily food patterns working together. In a moment, we'll explore how the way flaxseed is prepared can determine whether the body actually accesses its nutrients. And in the next section, you'll discover why the form of the seed itself can completely change how the body interacts with it. One detail that often surprises people is that the way a seed is prepared can determine whether the body actually benefits from it. Many individuals sprinkle whole flax seeds on cereal or salads, believing they are absorbing all of the nutrients inside. But the body's digestive system doesn't always work that way. In fact, the outer shell of flaxseed is extremely tough and resistant to digestion. Think of the seed like a tiny protective capsule. Its natural design protects the nutrients inside so the plant can survive in nature. But that same protective shell can also prevent those nutrients from being fully released during digestion. In a moment, I'll explain why this simple structural feature matters so much for nutrient absorption. And later, you'll see why many nutrition experts emphasize preparation methods just as much as the food itself. According to information discussed in nutrition research referenced through PubMed and educational material from institutions such as the Mayo Clinic and Harvard Health Publishing, flaxseed contains beneficial components like alpha, linolenic acid, fiber, and lignans. These compounds are located inside the seed, meaning they become more available once the seed's outer structure is broken down. When the seeds remain whole, they can sometimes pass through the digestive system largely intact, which means the body may access only a small portion of the nutrients they contain. This is why many dietitians and nutrition researchers discuss the difference between whole flaxseed and ground flaxseed. Grinding the seed breaks open that protective shell and exposes the interior nutrients so digestive enzymes can interact with them more effectively. In simple terms, it is similar to cracking open a walnut before eating it. Without breaking the shell, the body cannot reach what is inside. Later, you'll see how this small preparation step can make a meaningful difference when people include seeds in easy ways to add it to their diet regularly. Another factor worth understanding is how delicate some of these nutrients can be once the seed is opened. Omega-3 fatty acids like alpha-linolenic acid are sensitive to heat, air, and light. According to educational discussions from organizations such as the National Institutes of Health and the Cleveland Clinic, certain healthy fats can gradually degrade when exposed to oxygen for long periods. This does not mean the food becomes harmful, but it can reduce the potency of the beneficial compounds people are trying to obtain. In a moment, I'll explain why storage habits matter more than most people realize. And later, you'll understand why fresh preparation often preserves nutritional value. Fiber is another important component hidden inside flaxseed. Soluble fiber interacts with water during digestion and forms a gel-like texture that can help support digestive balance and metabolic stability. Health organizations like the World Health Organization and the CDC often highlight fiber intake as a key part of dietary patterns associated with long-term cardiovascular and metabolic wellness. But again, if the seed passes through digestion unbroken, much of that fiber remains trapped inside the shell. That brings us to another common mistake people make. Some individuals rely on processed foods that contain only small traces of seeds, assuming they will receive the same benefits. However, the nutritional impact often depends on both the quantity and the form of the ingredient. Whole foods tend to provide a broader combination of nutrients working together, something nutrition scientists frequently refer to as a food matrix. In the next section, we'll look beyond flaxseed itself and explore other everyday seeds that contribute different nutrients, supporting circulation and overall wellness in complementary ways. Once people understand how preparation affects flaxseed, the next surprising insight is that flaxseed is not the only seed connected to circulation and metabolic and wellness. Several everyday seeds contain different nutrients that interact with the body through complementary pathways. In other words, instead of relying on one food alone, a variety of seeds can contribute different building blocks that support the systems involved in circulation, energy production, and cellular protection. In a moment, I'll explain why certain minerals found in seeds are closely tied to how blood vessels behave. And later, you'll see how combining a few simple foods may support the body's natural balance more effectively than focusing on a single ingredient. One of the most widely studied examples is pumpkin seeds. These scientific studies and evidence seeds are well known for their concentration of magnesium, a mineral involved in hundreds of biochemical reactions throughout the body. Magnesium participates in processes that influence muscle function, nerve signaling, and the regulation of cellular activity. Since blood vessel walls contain smooth, muscle cells that tighten and relax throughout the day. Minerals like magnesium play a role in helping those cells function normally. Educational material from organizations such as the National Institutes of Health and the Cleveland Clinic often highlights magnesium as an important nutrient for overall cardiovascular wellness because it contributes to normal muscle and nerve signaling within the vascular system. Later, you'll see why many people unintentionally consume less magnesium than their bodies require, and how that pattern has been observed in modern dietary habits. Another seed that attracts attention in nutrition discussions is sesame seed. Sesame contains unique plant compounds known as lignans, including sesame and sesame. These compounds have been examined in studies cataloged through PubMed because of their antioxidant properties. Antioxidants help protect cells from oxidative stress, which is a natural process that occurs when unstable molecules interact with cellular structures. The lining of blood vessels is particularly sensitive to oxidative stress. So, nutrients that support antioxidant defenses can play a role in maintaining cellular stability. Institutions such as Harvard Health Publishing and the Mayo Clinic frequently explain that diets rich in plant-based foods supply a variety of antioxidants that work together rather than relying on a single nutrient alone. In a moment, I'll explain why vitamin E becomes part of this conversation as well, and later you'll see how certain seeds naturally provide it. Sunflower seeds are a well-known source of vitamin E, one of the body's primary fats-soluble antioxidants. Vitamin E helps protect cell membranes, including those that form the outer layer of endothelial cells lining blood vessels. According to educational resources from the National Institutes of Health and the World Health Organization, antioxidants such as vitamin E help support the body's internal defense systems that protect tissues from everyday metabolic stress. When these defenses remain balanced, cellular structures tend to function more efficiently over time. Another interesting example is watermelon seeds' lifestyle tips to enhance benefits, which contain protein, minerals, and small amounts of amino acids involved in metabolic pathways related to circulation. Research discussed in PubMed often examines how amino acids interact with nitric oxide pathways within the body. Although whole foods typically contribute these compounds in modest amounts as part of a balanced diet. But here is a common mistake people make when learning about these foods. They focus entirely on isolated nutrients and forget that the body responds to overall dietary patterns. Seeds, vegetables, fruits, sleep, physical activity, and stress management all influence circulation together. In the next section, we'll explore how antioxidants, healthy fats, and minerals from different seeds can interact inside the body and why variety often creates a more balanced nutritional pattern than relying on a single food. When different seeds are viewed together instead of individually, an interesting pattern begins to appear. Each one contributes a slightly different combination of nutrients, and those nutrients interact inside the body in ways that support multiple systems at once. Rather than acting like a single powerful switch, nutrition tends to work more like a network of small signals that accumulate over time. In a moment, I'll explain why antioxidants and healthy fats often appear together in foods connected with vascular wellness. And later, you'll see why the body benefits more from consistent daily habits than from occasional bursts of healthy eating. Seeds such as sunflower, sesame, pumpkin, and flax provide a mixture of fats, minerals, fiber, and plant compounds that work together as part of the broader dietary pattern researchers often discuss when studying cardiovascular health. For example, sunflower seeds contain significant amounts of vitamin E, a fat-soluble antioxidant that helps protect the membranes surrounding cells. Cell membranes act like protective barriers, controlling what enters and leaves the cell. When these membranes remain stable, communication between cells tends to function more smoothly. Educational resources from the National Institutes of Health describe vitamin E as one of the key antioxidants that help maintain cellular integrity, particularly in tissues exposed to high levels of oxygen activity, such as the cardiovascular system. But vitamin E does not work alone. In a moment, you'll see why other nutrients found in seeds help support the body's internal antioxidant network as well. Selenium is another nutrient sometimes present in common misconceptions, debunked small amounts in foods like sunflower seeds. Selenium is required for the function of an enzyme called glutathione peroxidase, which forms part of the body's natural antioxidant defense system. According to information from the World Health Organization and research summarized in PubMed, antioxidant enzymes help neutralize reactive molecules produced during normal metabolism. This process helps maintain balance inside cells and tissues. When antioxidants and minerals are supplied through a varied diet, the body is better equipped to maintain this internal protective system. Later, you'll understand why nutrition scientists often emphasize the concept of synergy when discussing whole foods. Synergy simply means that nutrients may support one another when consumed together. Sesame seeds provide an example of this idea. The compounds samine and sesame, studied in various nutritional research papers indexed in PubMed, have been observed for their ability to interact with antioxidant pathways. Harvard Health Publishing frequently notes that plant foods contain complex mixtures of compounds that influence metabolism in ways researchers are still working to fully understand. Another important piece of the puzzle is healthy fats. Seeds naturally contain unsaturated fats that contribute to the structure of cell membranes and support metabolic signaling processes throughout the body. Institutions such as the Mayo Clinic and the Cleveland Clinic often explain that dietary patterns, including nuts, seeds, legumes, and plant oils, provide fats that can fit within heart-conscious eating habits when consumed in balanced amounts. But here is a mistake many people make. They assume that adding a single healthy food automatically transforms the rest of their routine. In reality, the body responds to patterns, sleep quality, regular movement, stress levels, and consistent nutrition working together. In a moment, we'll bring these ideas together and look at how small daily habits involving seeds, whole foods, and lifestyle choices can gradually support circulation and overall wellness over time. When all of these pieces come together, the bigger picture becomes clear. Small daily nutrition habits can quietly influence real-life benefits and testimonials, how the body supports circulation and cellular health over time. Seeds such as flax, pumpkin, sesame, sunflower, and others provide a combination of fiber, healthy fats, minerals, and plant compounds that contribute to overall dietary quality. Instead of acting like a single dramatic intervention, these foods work more like supportive building blocks that fit into a larger lifestyle pattern. In a moment, you'll see why consistency matters more than quantity when it comes to foods like these. And later, you'll understand why researchers often emphasize daily habits rather than isolated superfoods. One of the most interesting aspects of seed-based foods is the way their nutrients overlap and complement one another. Flaxseed contributes alpha-linolenic acid and linens. Pumpkin seeds offer minerals like magnesium and zinc. Sesame seeds contain unique antioxidant compounds such as sesame and sunflower seeds provide vitamin E. Each of these nutrients interacts with biological systems related to metabolism, cellular protection, and vascular signaling. According to educational resources from institutions such as the National Institutes of Health and Harvard Health Publishing, dietary patterns rich in plant foods, including nuts and seeds, are often associated with markers of cardiovascular wellness when combined with balanced lifestyles. This does not mean any single food transforms health by itself, but rather that diverse plant foods contribute to the nutrient environment the body uses to maintain normal physiological functions. Later, you'll see why variety often becomes the most practical strategy for long-term nutrition habits. Another important factor is how these foods fit into everyday routines. Seeds can be added to meals people already enjoy, mixed into yogurt, blended into smoothies, sprinkled over oatmeal, or combined with vegetables and whole grains. The fiber content supports digestive balance, while healthy fats contribute to satiety and energy stability during the day. Organizations such as the Mayo Clinic and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention frequently highlight fiber-rich whole foods as part of balanced, final thoughts and actionable tips eating patterns that support metabolic health. In a moment, I'll explain why this consistency matters for long-term wellness, and later you'll see how other lifestyle factors amplify the same benefits. Movement, sleep, and stress management all influence circulation and metabolic signaling alongside nutrition. Regular physical activity encourages blood vessels to respond more efficiently to the body's needs, while adequate sleep allows many repair processes to occur overnight. The World Health Organization and the National Health Service both emphasize that long-term health outcomes tend to reflect the accumulation of these everyday habits rather than a single isolated change. That is why nutrition researchers often study overall dietary patterns instead of individual foods in isolation. But here is the key perspective many people overlook. Foods like seeds are most effective when they become part of a consistent routine rather than a temporary trend. Gradually, the nutrients from whole foods contribute to the body's internal systems that regulate energy, cellular protection, and circulation. Before adopting significant dietary changes, however, it is always wise for individuals to consider personal health circumstances and consult appropriate healthcare professionals if they have specific medical conditions or dietary needs. Educational information like this is meant to increase awareness of how everyday foods interact with the body, not replace individualized medical advice. And once you understand how these small habits connect, you begin to see that long-term wellness often grows from simple choices repeated consistently day after